morning, everybody, and welcome to week 8 of the Insane Productivity with Mortgage Coach Mastermind call. Thank you for taking time to be here. Obviously, it's the last day of the month, and the past 2 months have been record months. So the time that you're taking to come here and get better, we don't take it lightly as facilitators, and we appreciate the trust. To make this an awesome call, I think the more the audience is either asking questions or sharing success stories from what you've learned, what you've changed since you've gone through this Insane Productivity program, the more you're engaged, the more you're asking questions, the better this hour will be. So as facilitators on today's call, we have Todd Bookspan. He'll be kind of the lead facilitator, both kind of opening the call in a minute here and closing it. Cindy Ertman is here. Jen, it looks like you're here, although we're unable to unmute you at this point.
I'm unmuted. Can you hear me?
There you are. Great.
Yeah.
Hey, Jen.
Hi.
Great. So we'll jump in and out and try to control the mute on your side in the meantime. The last thing I'm going to say before I turn it over to Todd is I had posted a video that really walks you through. It's just 2 minutes long on how to just be a great contributor to these calls. So if you haven't listened to that, it's only 2 minutes long. You don't have to do it right now, but do it before you jump back on. But the takeaways are: make sure you're controlling your audio properly so we don't get feedback. Please control your mute because we do want to unmute everybody and make this highly collaborative. Ask questions and engage, and of course raise your hand in the GoToMeeting control panel. And there's 2 minutes where I show and tell that a little bit more. So Todd, I'm going to turn it over to you, and I will control the mute as much as I can. So open it up and let's get some interaction.
Awesome. All right. Good morning, everyone. Excited to be here again with all of you. It's so much fun, especially now that I've been connecting with some of you offline. We've got people who are in module 8, 9 area, and then now we've got a lot of you in the module 3 to 4 area. So those of you who are new faces on the call today, don't worry if you're only back at the very beginning. There's no spoilers. We're not going to ruin anything for you as you go through this process. There's a ton to learn. And I was in Texas the last 2 days for doing some coaching, and I listened to module 8 again yesterday for probably the, dozenth time. It's truly one of my favorite modules. So
I noticed you try to call.
Oops, we got to mute out Mr. Andy. Let's. All right. Maybe, Marcy, if you can mute off our person who's on the phone, that would be great. So really at this point of the call, the whole goal is to open it up, have you guys give us a list of the things that you would love to talk about today. Some success stories, this is a great time to share those. And remember, this call is about you guys, and the less that Dave, Jen, Cindy, and I talk, I think the better the call is, but we're always here to jump in and add some color. So I don't see any hands up yet, so I'm going to allow the awkward pause for a minute, and whoever wants to jump in with a success story or something they'd love to talk about today, now's your time.
Hey, Todd, are you able to hear me? Come off mute.
Hey, Carl, how you doing?
Doing very good, very good. Hey, I'm back on Module 4, so I was one of the later starters in the group, so I'm pulling up the rear here. But I will tell you that Module 4, talking about just the myth of multitasking, certainly resonated. And what was interesting is, while I was going through this process and learning and doing some of the takeaways that I had from it and really trying to focus on it, having a conversation with my assistant, who actually works in a different state than me. She's over in Arizona, and I'm in California, and we work side by side as partners, as if we were in cubes next to each other. We have that much communication going on during the day. We really, just as I started to mention the concept about, the myth of multitasking, she was already there. She, from whatever her, influences were that had brought her to that conversation earlier, she had recognized that although she used to pride herself on being able to multitask, it was a revelation for her outside of this Insane Productivity class that she needed to stop that. So it came, right in congruence with where I was at with the learning process that I'm going through. It was just kind of neat to see those two things sync up. And we are challenged in the role that I have, where in a servant leadership role, I'm pulled, or I feel that I'm pulled to everybody's needs and demands all the time. So I feel sometimes it's my job to be instantaneously responsive, when in fact, if I can slow that down and not multitask and not take those inbound calls and text messages and emails on my phone, that I actually can be that much more productive in building a bigger vision and a plan for my division. So it's just kind of neat to see, from both my perspective and the perspective of somebody who is in a support role, that we're both in congruence on that kind of thing. I think it's really going to make some impactful change for the division.
So how are you doing it? What are the changes that you're making to kind of force the lack of multitasking, the elimination?
Yeah, I think it's a simple time block schedule. And actually, there are times when we will open ourselves up to do the multitasking, right, where we could do some of those mindless things, or we can, specifically during certain periods of the day, be able to juggle the balls, right? But then, kind of going back to where we were at last week and the concept of the sprint and recovery, use those hours, use those time blocking sections where you really can be, uber focused on what you're trying, but then scheduling time to multitask, right? So almost block yourself and give yourself the permission and availability to do it, but in limited sections of time.
Oh, I love that. So for those of you who don't know who Carl is, he is a regional manager in Southern California in the Southwest for Caliber Home Loans. So when he's multitasking, saying he's got to be responsive, it's to all of you loan officers on the phone, right? So he's there helping loan officers grow their business and solve challenges. Have you had any negative repercussions where someone's like, hey, dude, I can't get a hold of you when you've always been so available when you're blocking that time?
Yeah, the biggest negative to that would be certainly when you forget to tell everybody else that you've had a change in your own perspective, right? If I make that implementation and that change in a silo, and I don't communicate to everybody and set that expectation, I've set myself up to fail. But if I'm transparent and communicative about it, and I, in group, get the support of others around me as I go through that change, certainly I've had more success.
Love it, love it. So that's huge right there, right? You gotta empower those around you. It's great that you and your assistant are both on the same page. So I look forward to hearing more about your growth over the next number of weeks through this program. How about the rest of you? Who else there has had any great success stories that they'd love to chat about?
And I'm happy to raise it. If someone raises their hand and you're muted, I can unmute you. Anybody else?
How about those of you who've used Dave's new values and why worksheet? I've seen some discussion on there around that. Anyone, Troy or anyone else, willing to jump in and discuss their challenges and success with that?
Hey, good morning. This is Mark Thompson in Davis, California, and I'd be happy to jump in on that. It's a fun exercise. As I shared with a lot of you folks in I think the first call, I'm a huge proponent of Simon Sinek's The Why. And thanks to Dave's encouragement for the class when Simon Sinek came on with Mortgage Coach Interview. So what you've done here is just kind of taken that and make it more specific, obviously, for our mortgage industry. So I took on the challenge and came up kind of based on the list of assessments, which I thought was really great in regard to kind of my 6 mortgage values. Narrowed that down to 3, and then came up with my mortgage why. And the interesting thing about it is I took a look at what my mortgage why is. I wanted to make sure it tied into what my original why was. And so it was kind of fun to see that transformation during my Power Hour block, and the results were pretty cool.
Yeah,
that's awesome. So what?
Oh, I was going to add. Yeah, Mark, thanks for going through that. And by the way, everyone, I pulled up Mark's why worksheet just to give you some perspective on it. Thank you for being one of the leaders that went through that. Also, there were a couple Mortgage Coach members that posted it in the Facebook page. Troy posted out the answers to his worksheet. So if you missed that, you can check that out for inspiration. And also Bliss Sawyer, who's actually at Darren Hardy's live event today, She's not here, but she also posted hers. So thanks for the leadership on that. It was awesome, Mark. And again, I do urge everybody to go through this exercise. Delivering the total cost analysis to a family is just an ultimate insane productivity strategy. And one of the best ways to take it to the next level is just to get clear on why you're doing it. Anyone else go through that? I think Danny.
This is Troy.
Oh, hey Troy, jump in.
Hey, thanks for unmuting me, Dave. Hey, no, going through this, I agree. Everyone should go through this. It is really an eye opener. You see on mine is that when I went through, what was neat is that my mortgage why is so close related to my personal values. And my mortgage values, how it's neat to see how closely they go hand in hand. And it really, and Dave, you did a great job on this because it really helped me focus on not only my mortgage why, but my mortgage coach why too. I've been struggling with the whys for a while, and thank you for making it simplistic and finally just meshing it for me.
Yeah, no, well, it's a team effort. It was originally inspired by Simon and some of his work, Darren, and then of course this community and these mastermind calls, get all the credit for this. So thanks for going through it. Hey Danny, you're on here and you went through this exercise. Any takeaways or anything you would share with everybody?
Yeah, for me, I have to admit it was similarly hard to when I did the similar exercise as part of the insane productivity. When Darren has he gives that list of 120 words to identify with, and yeah, it's interesting and it's challenging to actually have to ask yourself. And I think Jen brought this challenge to me the first time when I was talking about how it was interesting that I was struggling kind of narrowing it down to just one thing or a handful of things. Was that it's something that I would have to be okay with identifying all the time. Like, is this something that I want to bring in every single event that I show up to, and every moment? And while all of them are extremely important, and I kind of mentioned that in the email that I sent you, Dave. All of them are important, and sometimes they're kind of nested within each other. And there's moments or seasons where you're going to have to focus in on some of the other aspects, but at the same time, you want to have things that are just with you always. And for me right now, that's growth. We're looking to grow our team. I want to personally grow. I'm spending a lot of time. I mean, this mastermind and the insane productivity is part of that. Become a reliable source of knowledge in a lot of different areas, and then for our team lead. And that's a huge part of what it is. Again, in this insane productivity is about, a lot of people are here to learn how to become organized so that they can build and grow teams. And that's kind of what I focused in on, is some of the priorities that I had was, how are we going to do that, or continue to do it, I should say.
Yeah, well, Danny, I want to just put an exclamation mark around leadership, because when you think of what's required to be a successful mortgage professional, and really be beyond good, but be a superstar. I mean, it's not only leadership with your team, but it's the way that you show up with customers. You're not just, they're asking you questions and you're jumping through hoops. You're asking great questions, and then you're leading them. And then when you really break down this whole insane productivity experience that we're going through, it requires leadership. Just like Carl said, I created some standards that I'm operating under. So there's personal leadership, there's new standards, but then how important is it for the whole thing to work for him now to proactively go out and lead, tell everybody else that he's doing something different. And so, I mean, leadership, the way you isolated that as your number one, I think it's awesome and it's important. Now, again, I'm not saying everybody on this call, when you get down to, what are your number three, leadership should be on everybody's number three. Because it's super important that this is just, it is you, but I also think it's super important that we're more around how important leadership is to the success of insane productivity.
Hey, this is Jen. Can you hear me?
We can.
Okay, great. Hey, Troy, I love your post because, I think that you know, a lot of times as loan officers, most of us, you know, if you think about the DISC evaluation, we're high Ds and we're just kind of bottom liners. And it becomes very difficult for us to jump into the S and C, the steady and the controlling, and I got to have all the details. And so, you know, I commend you for stating that it was a difficult task for you. I love that you have come up with leadership, but I also take note of the fact that you said, you know, a couple years ago you wouldn't have said that. So my challenge for you is to put on your calendar for another 2 years from now to go through the same process. Because as you evolve and you know, you're now demonstrating, you know, I'm going to focus more on leadership and hone in on those skills. Something will change in you in the next couple of years, that now leadership will be on your top priorities and still your values, but now there'll be something else that rises to the occasion that now becomes something that's more fulfilling for you personally. You're talking about your team right now, but now it will fulfill you more personally. So I challenge you to put on your calendar today a reminder to go through this process again 2 years from now, to see where you are, to see where you've evolved, so that you can continue it to evolve in your mortgage lending practice. Does that make sense?
That's done. It's on the calendar.
Hey guys, it's Cindy here, and Jen, that's great. I love the fact of revisiting things, because we also in that process see how much we've grown, which is extraordinary. Troy, I loved your post too. I thought it was absolutely amazing and loved it. And it's when you start to really think about, you know, what those values are, that it starts to really move forth and kind of moves to the front burner. But one thing I'd love to encourage everybody to do, particularly on the area of Troy and Danny around leadership, is that what I have found is that not just sharing that with your team so everybody's clear what your why is and what your value system is and why you do what you do, but also continuing to bring that conversation forth when you're talking to your referral partners out in the marketplace, because I'm finding that the more that I do that personally, the more value, you know, you get other people thinking about that as well, and it starts to really increase your presence as a market leader. And I'm finding more and more that to use that as a tool to help educate realtors and financial planners and the people that I'm spending time with in terms of building or growing a business, it becomes a hugely powerful tool of you creating value in their life, in their business. So, you know, I would really share that. And I mean, like, Troy, this is awesome, and to turn around and share that with your referral partners, I think it would be really powerful.
Yeah. So for those of you that aren't looking at the screen right now, while Cindy was talking, I pulled up Mark Thompson's why. And, you know, Mark, for those of you who weren't on the call a couple of weeks ago when Mark shared it, you know, he's got this on his website. He's got this integrated into everything he does, and it completely aligns with what you just said, Cindy. So, hey, Mark, if you don't mind, in just a second, I want to have you, some people may not have heard you share it, but share how you're promoting your why. However, before I turn it over to you, Mark, I do want to shine a light on a feature in the Facebook group. You know, I just typed in the word why. You know, there's a search feature where it says search this group, and so I typed in why, and I pulled up all of the, you know, all of the conversations, all the examples that had why in it. So just think of that as a resource. If you want to go back and listen to a recording of a past call, type in recording, and you'll notice that that word happens to be in every single one. So as we use Facebook, this secret group, on an ongoing basis, use that search feature. It'll help you get what you want when you need it. With that said, Mark, anything you want to add to that, just so everybody knows how you're using your why and how you're promoting it?
Yeah, so it started with, have you ever had a time when you've seen the same thing or the same program or the same YouTube video twice, 3 times? And that happened to be with Simon Sinek. A friend of mine had it on YouTube, on LinkedIn, and I thought it was kind of cool. I'm going to look at it someday. All of a sudden, you know, Mortgage Coach has a training class with Simon Sinek. I saw it, and then the next day, a friend of mine said, hey, I just read this good book. It all starts with why with Simon Sinek. Have you heard of it? And it kind of got me on this quest then to figure out, all right, I really got to figure this out. I really got to figure out what I need to do and how do I incorporate it. So I listened to the YouTube video probably 15 times. I don't think that's an exaggeration. I embraced the Why University and spent the $99 to go through the Why University. I came up with my why with the help of a friend. Spent about 6 or 7 hours working on it. And once I did that, it just resonated in my life, and I realized that in my family life, my business life, my personal life, it's me. And I was just having lunch with a good buddy of mine who helped me put this together, and he's like, Mark, so you still using that why thing? And I said, yeah, Chris, as a matter of fact, and I pulled out my business card, and it was on the back, and I said, thanks to you, buddy, it's right here. And it's had a huge impact. I use it on my website. Every single day I mention it in a conversation on how I'm working with people and how I'm trying to help solve their solutions and build them. And I think it's great. Taking this now to the mortgage why is something that I'm thinking about. Now I like the idea of kind of taking it to the next level. And I think that's what Dave's done with creating your mortgage why. And I haven't really thought about making it specific towards that until this experience. And I think it makes sense.
Awesome. So I just reposted a recording of that Simon Sinek call. There you have it. So does anybody else have a question or want to continue the conversation on this? By the way, Andy, I just unmuted you. I had to mute you earlier because there was some noise. So I don't know if you have anything to share, Andy McDonald. All right. Any specific questions anybody have on the call for any of the facilitators, or just a question for the audience? I can either raise your hand or start talking if you have a question or something you want to make sure we talk about today.
You know, I'm happy to see the conversation, Dave, but anyone else can jump on in. You know, one of the things that Module 8 talks about are your vital few, right? Your vital few functions, your vital few priorities. And I mentioned on the call last week, right? Darren says he sucks at things by design in an effort to be world-class at a few. And, you know, I'd love to get the conversation around what you all think are the vital few, whether your role is loan officer, whether you're a member of a team, whether you're a branch manager, whether you're a regional or divisional manager, kind of what you feel like are some of the vital few, because ultimately I think there's an opportunity for us to focus on ours first and foremost, but then definitely help those around us do that. Loved when Carl was talking about working with his assistant on things, and so I think that's something that we all have an opportunity to do to help the others around us grow as well. I've got my list, but rather than me talk about it, I'd love some of the rest of you to jump in.
All right, folks, jump in. Also, if you don't want to talk or you're having trouble unmuting, you can post in the question section, and Todd and I will bring it in. So I will start looking at that. Anyone?
Hey guys, it's Troy. I'll start it off. Why not? On this vital few, it really brings things to perspective, in my opinion. Mine had to do with consistently being in jam sessions, and from a focusing standpoint, obviously sharing edge presentations, and then also I put in their daily routine, so that way my mind fresh, and that came from what Darren was talking about with regards to bookending your day.
So what does your daily routine look like?
Actually now I get up about 15-20 minutes earlier than I was, and start my day with about some quiet time in the Word, and then about 20-30 minutes of reading in the morning, and then just reviewing what we've learned through the last 8 weeks of the program. And then in the evenings, I actually now turn off the TV. I'm still weaning off the TV. I'm down to only about an hour and a half a day now, and just doing the flip side, just doing some more reading and just preparing for the next day.
I think that's awesome. I think that's huge. I know we had some people last week. Dave shared his morning routine as well. Anyone else on there have an awesome morning routine they're willing to share?
Can you hear me? Danny, I actually have some, I guess, a request for help here. So maybe some people farther down the road. So my morning routine is basically trying to wrangle a 6-year-old and a 3-year-old and get them in clothes and with sunscreen on and fed and get myself ready. And it seems like there's it's, other than, trying to cut myself out of all that chaos, I really, want to get some advice from people that maybe have the same, similar problems but have found a solution on how they're managing the morning life and still being productive.
Yeah, I can pitch in on that one. This is Mark Thompson, and I hear you, brother. A dad of 2 boys, and I've always been an evening guy, and realizing that I needed to do this, and gosh, probably about 2 years ago, I read the book called The Miracle Morning. Actually, it was given to me about 2 years ago, and then a year ago, I looked at it, read the first chapter, and then all of a sudden, a year ago, I started reading it again. And what I really realized, in order for me to be able to do this, quite honestly, I just had to keep waking up early. And that was the hard part, because I'm not a morning guy. But what I found is that I committed to doing it for a month, 30 days, and I said, you know what, I'm not going to do it 7 days a week. I'm only going to do it 5 days a week. And by figuring out what I needed to do and how I needed to do it, my wife is blown away because now I jump out of bed, believe it or not, at 10 minutes to 5. I don't have an alarm clock that goes off. I wake up now consciously or unconsciously, I don't know, automatically, just because I've reprogrammed myself. And the key is I have to wake up before my kids, otherwise I get distracted. And for me, my morning ritual is I wake up, brush my teeth, big glass of water. I meditate. I've got this great app that I use on my phone for meditation for 10 minutes. I have a little quiet time, a little reading, and then I go to the gym 2 days a week. It's actually a workout group, which I've never done before. And then I come back and I'm there in time for the boys waking up so I can make them breakfast.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I love that, and that's definitely how Elrod's morning routine, because doesn't he say if you brush your teeth and you down a glass of water, there's no way you're going to fall back asleep. And I would tell you that that's sort of that's the common thing I've heard from, I guess I'd call them the super achievers of the mortgage business with young kids. They've tended to match up their sleep schedule to their kids. Josh Metal, who's been interviewed with Dave numerous times on Mortgage Coach, is a huge Darren Hardy Compound Effect fan, and when he first read the Compound Effect, he kind of went to the extreme. He had 2 young kids. They went to bed between 7 and 7:30, so he and his wife adopted the same schedule, and Josh used to get up between 2 and 2:30 every morning to get his day rolling, and then by the time his kids woke up, then he had all that focused morning time because he didn't want to give up that time with his kids. And as his kids have gotten older, then he started to go to bed later, and now he's sleeping later. But he had challenged me years ago, and so my morning starts sadly, or I guess happily, at 4 a.m. these days, and I get up and I do my thing, pretty similar routine, and that similar routine takes me till my daughter gets up, and then I do my dad thing with her, since I've only got one left in the nest, sadly. But love hearing others do that. But unfortunately, Danny, I think it's probably a little earlier bedtime, if possible, and a little earlier wake-up time, since sleep is so important.
This is Jen. I can speak, and I think those are all fantastic ideas, and I didn't want to chirp in because I don't have little kids anymore. Now I have grandkids. So,
congratulations.
Thanks. So I had mentioned the Miracle Morning in a couple of, webinars previous to this, and I also posted my entire day on the Facebook page so that everybody could see. I pretty much run a very strict, there's bookends within the time frames I have in there, but it's pretty much like that every single day, and that's how I did it by design. I just want to encourage everyone who doesn't have children at home anymore. You can get very complacent at the fact that you don't have kids and you can start sleeping in. So it doesn't matter whether you have children or not at home, with small kids at home. You still want to consider utilizing the Miracle Morning as a means to help getting your head on straight. So check up from the neck up in the morning, and it's a heart, mind, and soul act, or way of doing things. But I wanted to share something with everybody. I was meeting with one of my referral partners probably about a month and a half ago, and we were talking about this same concept. She doesn't have any children. She has a puppy. And I immediately got back to the office and had my assistant send her the Miracle Morning Real Estate, because there's a realtor version of it. And yesterday I was on the phone with her walking into the gym, and she called and she said, I just want you to know it has changed my life. Changed my life, Jen. Thank you so much for giving me the miracle morning. She said, I am up every single morning at 5:30. My goal is to get up at 5, but I'm up every single morning at 5:30, and I have so much more clarity than I ever had. So what do you think I did with that? I'm like, I'm going to do a miracle morning realtor event. So I'm now going to try to educate more of them utilizing this, you know, the miracle morning. And it's the same thing, Dave. I was sitting here thinking, you know, this mortgage, insane productivity with mortgages needs to happen with real estate. You know, it needs to, yeah, it needs to happen with realtors too, to bring them together. So I would just say, you know, whether you have children or not, you know, try to implore some of these ideas, you know, about just having some downtime. And when you get into Module 9, you're going to talk, Darren's going to be talking about disrupting your normal routine to try to break some habits and things. And gosh, this is a perfect way to do it. You can do it in tandem with it.
Love it. Love it, guys. So I do want to highlight to everyone that if you go to the Mortgage Coach YouTube page and you type in Hal Elrod, we have interviewed him a number of times. And this one right here, where it just says The Miracle Morning with Hal Elrod, you know, that is his cornerstone keynote. I actually just saw it a few weeks ago at the Fairway sales rally, and it is such a high impact message. And there's no doubt the morning routine is essential. So do want to let everybody know I did post that a recording to that in the YouTube channel, excuse me, on our private group. And I do encourage you guys to share your morning routines in the comments. Jen, I tried to find yours while you were talking. I didn't. But if you don't mind, maybe in the comment section, just take what you put. Let's just have it all in one thread. So anyone who's a mortgage professional on this call that wants to share that in comments, feel free to do it. But hey, Danny,
I'll try to do that. I'm on my cell phone online seeing your screen.
I'm not saying, like, you know, do it now. I'm just saying.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I don't want to switch tasking. I don't want to be switch tasking.
Yeah, right? No. No,
I will. I'll put it in there. I'll get it in there again. I don't know what happened to it because I did post it, but okay.
Yeah. No, I'm more just saying so that we make this actionable and we all collaborate together.
Yeah.
That, you know, post this call. Anyone that wants to share. Anybody that wants to ask more questions around it, ask more questions. Hey, Danny, do you feel like that we addressed it for you? Anything else you want to go there on that topic?
Yeah, I absolutely addressed it. It's just not what I wanted to hear. But I guess
you wanted to sleep in.
Yes, I do.
Hey, be a better dad.
Danny, it's Cindy. Hey, I just wanted to let you know, as someone, my kids like Jen are out of the house now, but raising 3 kids and having just an insane, you know, mortgage practice. I didn't get up at 4 in the morning because that's a little too early for me, but I moved my wake-up time 30 minutes up, and just that 30 minutes of focus time when I started meditating gave me that sort of peace, and I got a lot of clarity from that, and just adding in 15 minutes of education and 15 minutes of meditation for me was huge. Now I mean, I really do the full hour of power every morning. It's part of my routine and has been for years, and it's a habit without question, and it fuels me every single day. But one thing I don't want to like skip over here, because Jen, when you talked about doing like a Miracle Morning Realtor event, I think that is extraordinary. I mean, I really want people to like hone in on that, because that could be just an incredible topic to teach to your realtor partners as a, you know, lunch and learn. I did an event last Thursday at my house. First time I've done an evening event, dinner and learn, if you will, and much to my surprise, had 30 realtors attend. I have not had 30 people show up to a lunch and learn or an event in a very long time, and I'm realizing how much people want the guidance and education right now. I'm just finding a different level of receptivity to what we have to share, because they really are having challenges in closing their deals on time. They really want the education from mortgage professionals. And if you're not doing lunch and learns or any sort of education events for your realtor partners or financial planners, really add that into your calendar. It's powerful. Absolutely powerful. We've already secured a lot of new business from one event, so I think that's a great idea, Jen, on something we could do for an event.
Cindy, what are some of the other lunch and learns
Awesome.
that you've led that you found to be successful?
I did one about 3 months ago on how to use social media to expand your influence in the marketplace, and it was awesome. And I actually called a few key people that are extraordinary in social media in terms of realtors, and I asked them to attend so they could actually share what they were doing because they're rock stars. I was communicating with a realtor partner yesterday afternoon, actually, and had recommended that he be a panelist for a mortgage event that's coming up because he's a newer realtor and using Facebook Live is such a powerful tool to build and grow his business. But that class was hugely successful, and I'm happy to drop in here and share some tips on here of things that I shared that were really helpful in leading that class. And you know, I use social media on a regular basis, as most of you know, but I'm not really an expert in the field, but I'm using it to a level where it's making a difference in my business and my life, and just sharing what you do is impactful for other people. So that's one of the ones that I did. I also led an event about 6 months ago that was the easiest lunch and learn I've ever done. So I invited all the realtors and asked them to bring their best marketing idea of what's working for them. And so all I did was kick it off with one great idea for them, and then they all went around the room and they all shared their ideas, and I gave them forms to fill out everybody's idea. So they walked away with 15 key ideas of what's working to grow and build their, you know, their real estate presence in the marketplace, and that was hugely successful.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Anyone else have any other lunch and learn ideas? What I did is I'm a big Post-it note guy, so I've got those large Post-it notes on my wall, so I just made a list of 2017 lunch and learns, and now I've got 3 here that I'll start coaching people on. So I'd love anyone to have any other suggestions I think would be great for the group.
This is Jen. I'm sorry to pop in just real quick, but this is, I mean, I do lunch and learns till I'm sick of doing lunch and learns. I do a lot of them. I do a math class, a series of, you can call it mortgage real estate math, mortgage finance for realtors, but I do a series on math. So I do Mortgage Coach Edge in it, which, Dave, you've seen pictures of me doing that. I go through Mortgage Coach Edge with them. I do MBS Highway, so I talk about loan level pricing on a different one. I do rent versus own, investor calculations. I'm trying to think of all the things. Optimal use of funds. I mean, I do a whole gazillion. I probably got like 9 or 10. This is a 6-hour CE class, and I break it into 6 different lunch and learns. I do something called Launch, which is leverage, action, utility, needs, credibility, and habits. It's just a quick 1-hour, way to get them back on track. I have done marketing on a shoestring budget, and I have done real estate sales mastery. RESM is what I call it, and it's traditional sales classes where we do role playing, and so we break that on different things like, how to overcome objections, your initial benefit statement, your value proposition, your why. So anyway, that's just to throw off a few of those. I can't even, I could just go on and on and on. I've done something about the lowdown on low down payment loans called the lowdown on no down. I always do that in football season.
Hey,
anyway,
Jen.
so that's just a few. Yeah.
Jen, can you speak a little bit to how you enroll realtors or your referral partners to actually show up to your events? Because I think that's an important key element here.
Yeah, so I have anywhere from 10 to 20. My problem is I usually have to create another one because people, it's just I have to turn them away. I don't have enough room. But usually, well, first of all, you have to breathe, live. This has to be normal. So on the signature, on my email signature, I have a list of all my upcoming events below my signature, and the links to register to them, or the links to register, with my assistant. And so I'm always promoting them there. I always have a flyer with me, so when I'm doing my B2B meetings, with my real estate agents my top real estate agents on a regular basis, and deepening our relationships and asking them what their why is and helping them write their, and execute their realtor why. I have flyers with me all the time. I'm constantly doing that. I'm posting things on Facebook. I'm sending email campaigns through Evite. My marketing team takes care of that for me. I do videos. I do Skype calls. I do all of it. but I have a specific plan for each one of them with Skype call reminders, video reminders. I use BombBomb. So I use BombBomb to record videos and just say, hey, I hope you got the email, you know, hope you're coming, hope you, you know, have registered, that kind of thing. And so I really just have them on a regular basis. And then when they're at the event, they can sign up right there for the next events that I'm holding. Well, by the way, here are our upcoming events, and they sign up right there. So if you just, once you get, it's like, you know, it's like a train. Once the wheels, you know, the cog starts going slower, and then it gets faster and faster. So once you're on a roll with this, you can just constantly move and shake this. And this is how I meet new realtors and pick and choose who I'm going to work with and identify, you know, people that will have a major impact on my production. And then the rest of the realtors in the group that I maybe don't want, or their production's low, I disseminate them to the rest of my team to work with.
Awesome.
And develop relationships.
That's awesome.
Hey, so let me jump in here real quick. So folks, to make this Facebook group as valuable as possible, I've been posting things. So one thing I did is I posted, please share your Realtor Lunch and Learns you're currently doing. And Todd, if you put together a list, if maybe you wouldn't mind adding that to comments so that we just have the most comprehensive list possible on here. I also asked everyone who's going to Sales Mastery, because I think it would be neat to, we all have something in common. We're all working on our productivity right now, going through the same program. It'd be neat to meet up, maybe even have a, insane productivity mastermind happy hour. So if we get enough people, maybe I'll host something. Let's see who's going. So post that. And then I did post, because I just a couple weeks ago I interviewed Kelly Zitlow and Catherine Pedersen, 2 top loan officers, and it was a full hour of training events for realtors, and Lunch and Learns were a part of that. So it's a pretty comprehensive hour training on how to both get realtors to show up to training events, and again, it included Lunch and Learns. It also included CE Realtor training, which both of them do. They both do CE Realtor training. But I just want to highlight that as a resource for everyone. And I do think it would be cool, anyone that wants to add in comments there around the types of realtor events that you're doing, feel free to do it. So Todd, I'll throw it back to you. I do think we're getting into the last 15 minutes. We should prepare everybody for the chapter ahead, or for the module ahead. But if there are more questions, jump in, and Todd, I'll let you kind of close out the call.
Perfect. All right. Well, I definitely don't want to talk for 15 minutes, so I would love a couple other people maybe to jump in with other questions for the group, other success stories and ideas. I know there's some of you on here who've been great contributors in the past and have been sitting there quietly. I got to imagine someone's burning to jump on. How about you, Andy? I see you raising your hands.
Yeah, thanks, Todd. So sorry about that. I was unavailable just a few minutes ago. One thing that I heard that all of this stuff is awesome, and by the way, I have not read The Miracle Morning yet, and I just placed my order. So I'm going to get on that one. I think it's great. A couple of things that I heard people talking about were quiet and meditation, and that's something that I've been really passionate about over these last few years. As the chaos of this business can continue to overwhelm us and take over at times. There's nothing better for me personally than to start my morning with some quiet time and some meditation. And so I think Dave Thompson mentioned he had an app. I was just curious if he could share with the group what app that was. It was a meditation app, because I know there's a bunch of them out there. But I would just encourage people to consider like a burn, whether it's 30 days, 60 days, 90, however long you want, to commit to yourself to whether it's 5 minutes, 10 or 15 minutes, some quiet time in the morning, because it's had an incredible impact on me and several people that I work with. And when you talk about grounding and seeing things clearly, having a clear mind, obviously, working out in the morning helps, going for walks, not just sitting there reading the news and getting depressed. You can actually go through and do things that will take care of yourself. And I think right now with the season that we're in and the volume levels that everyone is experiencing, there's probably nothing more important than to consider you first, and what better way to do that is in the morning. And the impact of quiet time with everything that we deal with will counter, and it will help balance. And so I can't encourage you enough. If you've never done it, don't worry about it. You're not going to be able to live up to your commitment. It's very difficult in the beginning, but you have to try it because it's so awesome. The impact has a lasting impact.
So Andy, what are you using for meditation? A class, or did it just something you found online, or?
No, I've read several books, and I'll go through it because I started to get into it probably like 4 or 5 years ago. So now it's more I'm on autopilot. But the coolest thing for me about 2 years ago, or after about a year or two into it, you know, my daughter, who was probably 8 at that time and she's 10 now, you know, she jumped in with me and said, "Hey, Dad, are we ready to do our morning meditation?" And so when you actually get to sit in quiet with a child, which is almost nearly impossible for them to do, but they can train their mind to be quiet and to just be present and to try and not think about things, that for me was awesome. And so we still do it together once in a while. She's not obviously doing it every day, but it's a great little tool and a way for us to connect because she appreciates it for what it's worth, and she sees the positive impact that it had on me.
Andy, that is such a great thing to do with your child. I love it. And I just wanted to share that the app that when I, like you now, I pretty much do a silent meditation, but when my monkey brain just gets the best of me, one of the apps that I love is calm.com, CALM.com. I roll that out to our loan originators all the time because it's free. You can put it on your phone. You can do a 2-minute, a 5-minute, 10-minute. It's a sort of semi-guided meditation. I don't like them overly guided, but it's a really peaceful way to sort of jump into meditation in a really simple, short way. And I suggest to people, if you've never done it, because so many loan originators say to me that I just can't do it, I can't do it. And you can do it, but to your point, Andy, it takes a little bit of time and practice like anything else. But start with 2 minutes. You know, 2 minutes is short. I mean, it's a really, really short meditation, but it's a great way, and then you can work up to 5 minutes and 10 minutes. But check out calm.com. It's beautiful. There's also a subscription base, which gives you a lot more options of, you know, like 20 different types of meditation, but you can do their 7-day meditation challenge for free, and I highly recommend it.
Yeah, that's awesome.
The one that I've used is that you, Mark?
No, Dave Savage, just one more thing.
Oh, hey, Dave.
I did post the question, what apps are you using to help with meditation? And then I use Headspace when I do it, which is not enough. I've heard a lot of great things about the yoga studio, and I posted that, and then I just posted Cindy's. So we've got 3 apps in comments, and if this conversation keeps going, please share those with everybody. Todd, I'll let you rock it out.
Real quick here, Todd. This is Andy again. I would say another book, if people are interested in a book that can kind of open their mind to this whole idea, and it's much more involved than just simply meditating. But Into the Magic Shop was a great book that I read about a year ago, and I shared it with some work friends, but mostly family. Like from, you know, my parents to my siblings to cousins and whatnot. But Into the Magic Shop is a great book that can really, like I said, introduce these concepts and ideas to people that really haven't had experience or don't know much about it. I think it positions it really well.
That's awesome. I appreciate that. It's a great topic. I was really scared of the whole idea. The app that Dave mentioned, Headspace, is the one that I've been using for probably about 6 months. And you know, just my wife is like, I don't know what you're doing in the mornings, but whatever you're doing, it's working. You know, keep doing it. So it's been good for me. And ironically, my daughter just downloaded it, but we haven't done any of that yet together. So I'm looking forward to that. I'm trying not to push it. I'm waiting for her to encourage it, but. Love hearing that. Is that, Mark, I know you're the one who said that you were using an app. Which one are you using?
I'm using Headspace as well, and I love it. Absolutely love it.
Yeah, you know, you got this guy with, I don't know what kind of it. Oh, go ahead.
I'm Catholic, so I use monk chanting. I know it's different, but it's like I'm sitting at the church about ready to go into confession. So, you know, I think anything that inspires you is what you should use, right? But I use sort of that chanting, and I'm praying and meditating. It's just funny. I know, but see, I think that's a different strokes for different folks, right?
You know, that's what makes the world go round, right?
Yeah.
All right, so we have 10 more minutes, so we probably have time for one more great subject before I wrap up. Anyone else have something they'd like to jump in on? I'm seeing Adam Beauvais said that there's a transcendental meditation course that teaches you how to meditate that's worth every penny. So I don't know if anyone else has done that. Ironically, my older daughters who are at college just sent me a text yesterday that they wanted me to spend $960 on it, and I was thinking to myself, I'm paying a lot for college, but now maybe it's worth a second thought. I'm going to have them try out Headspace first, but love that. Thanks, Adam, for suggesting it. I've also got another question from Tony Garshnick. He's asking, how do you balance working out and taking care of yourself and doing all the great stuff that you need to do in the morning? So I know we've talked about that a little bit. Does anybody else have any other 2 cents on that? I know we've kind of maybe taken that one pretty far already, but if anyone else wants to help out Tony and give their 2 cents on balancing the morning, that's I think probably we've covered that pretty far.
Todd, the only thing that I'd add, this is Cindy, is that, you know, when I was raising my kids and time was at such a premium, I finally just realized that I had to do what I could do and not what I thought I should do. And I bought a treadmill, and I literally would roll out of bed, throw on my tennis shoes, and get on the treadmill for 15 minutes because that was really all I could fit into my day when I was raising my kids and running my business at the same time. But I sort of broke down and just said, I just got to do what I can do, which is I had to put something directly in my bedroom. And, you know, I was never going to make it to the gym. I just knew that was not going to be feasible for a few years of my crazy life with young kids. So I say do what you can do and make it happen, because just that 15 minutes on a treadmill, at about 10 minutes, my whole head would clear. Like, it just, all the fog clears, you get clarity, it calms your day, and it was just so incredible just to have that 15 minutes.
No, that's huge advice, right? I mean, I always say you can't beat yourself up over what you can't actually get done, because I do see people all the time who are like, gosh, I read this book, I heard this speaker, you know, saw some guy on TV, and he does this, and I want to do that too. And yeah, they don't live your life, so make sure that you're pushing whatever's that you can do. So seems to me like we got a lot of stuff covered today. I really appreciate the involvement from everyone. I would say that if you all have about 5 minutes when we get off the call here, if you could just go in, they've added a bunch of stuff today to our Facebook page. So if you can go in there and make any comments where you've got you have an opinion or something that you can add to the group, that would be great. I really think that Facebook group is vital. I think we've seen some great discussions in there, and the more of us that are in there, the merrier. We are, it's kind of crazy, right? So, I think these last few weeks for those of you from round one have been really big weeks in insane productivity. So my encouragement is in some of your jam sessions, I would spend some time, to review for sure 7 and 8. Obviously, we're heading into 9, where your homework's going to be your habits worksheet, habits good and bad. I'm sure we can have a great conversation around that next week, and even those of you who are on modules 3 or 4, I'm sure that you have some habits that we can discuss. I love, my favorite quote from module 9 is, it comes down to sustained consistency, where Darren just talks about the repetitions it takes to become consistent, and you've heard people on the call today talk about that. So we're really heading into somewhere, some powerful territory. We mentioned the vital few. We didn't really get much discussion around that. I think Dave threw that on there as well. I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts. For me as a loan originator, my vital few were borrower consultations, strategic partner consultations, and prospecting. I found that for me, those were the few things that were super important. Certainly some of you could be annual client review. It could be making TCAs. I'd love to see what else you all are doing. Those of you that are heading up the second crew, I love module 4. I kind of subtitled that one, just be all in. I think that We heard Carl talk about the earlier modules, really that whole idea that you just can't multitask. And, Darren's talking about behaviors there as you're coming out of Module 3 and heading into Module 4. And Module 4's got some crazy homework. It's got the no multitasking challenge, which is probably the biggest one. Darren always says that if you kind of need to pretend you're on an airplane all the time and don't connect to the internet, which I felt last night. I felt like I was robbed when I got on an airplane that actually had no internet and I couldn't get on and work, and instead I actually just found the recordings of Insane Productivity that were on my computer and listened to those instead, which was a great use of my time, probably better than the whatever I would have done, probably web surfing and whatnot. So, and again, Module 4 is talking about that, what is your definition of success, right? He gives you a list of questions, and I would encourage those of you who are in Module 4 then to take a look at Dave's, why and values worksheet. Also, Dave has asked us if we have any feedback on that, give it to him now. He gave me a little sneak peek. They're doing a really cool version of that at Mortgage Coach. The marketing department's jumping in, so this would probably be the week if you have any input for Dave on that he would love. He would love to get that. And then Dave's also got his other fancy sheet, which I forgot what he called it, but he's working kind of on the sheet that's got all the daily tasks that have come off of all the modules of Insane Productivity. He posted that last Friday. He didn't mention it again today, but if you guys have a chance, I'd review that as well for Dave. He would love all of our feedback on it. I think it'll be something that those of us who've been on this call week in and week out can really have an effect on the rest by spending some time and giving our opinion and seeing what we can do to help others grow. As always, if anyone's got any questions, you've got some really powerful folks on this call. Jen and Cindy, thanks so much. Certainly, I'm sure they would love it. If you've got questions, you can reach out to them directly. I'm always available if you guys need help, as is Dave. And thanks again for your time, and we look forward to seeing everybody next week and throughout the week on the Facebook page. Thanks so much.